Welcome to the podcast, She is Fab, where we discuss all things Fab, women empowerment, and life coaching. My name is Evelyn, also known as the Fab Chieftess, and I am a mindset transformation coach. Welcome to another episode of the She is Fab podcast. Today, I am joined by Sandy Bartlett, who has a coaching system that will bring out your inner badass. Welcome, Sandy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate being here.
I'm so happy to have you. So tell us a little about you and your background. What got you into coaching?
Well, my background is human resources. I've been in the human resources field for 35 plus years, give or take. And I actually, when I think about it, I do coaching almost every day in my job as a director of human resources. So I started looking at opportunities to be able to work for myself. At some point, I'm going to retire. And so what can I keep doing to keep, giving back, to keep my mind, active? And so I started exploring the possibility of starting my own consulting. And through that, I ended up kind of deciding that getting a certification as a health coach and a life coach would be a great asset. Because with the health coach side, I could offer wellness programs, and then with the life coach side, just coaching in general. And it's been a whirlwind 2 years of. I just got my fourth certification, so I have a health coach certification, a life coach certification, a transformational coach certification, and a mastery certification. Um, and so I have actually, a broad variety. And so, but I started focusing on more the life coaching and working with women and confidence. So, and I just, I enjoy it. I enjoy working with women and being able to, work with them and help them kind of, bring out that inner badass, since that is my signature system, Embody Your Inner Badass. And so being able to work with them to bring out what's already within them is just a joy.
Mm-hmm. That is so awesome and so interesting too, because normally, or at least more often than not, the folks that I know that are coaches have transitioned from a corporate job to becoming coaches, or they started as a coach and are continuing down that path. But you are actually currently still working in corporate, working, in human resources of all things, which is really in alignment with coaching, right? Because you are working with people. It's the service of working with people, which makes sense. And you've built up, got your certification, started to get your foot in the door. You have clients, developed a program so that when you are done with the corporate side of things, you already have an established business, an established client base, and a signature program. That is awesome. I also like the name of your signature program. Like when you incorporated that word of badass, like that is such a powerful word, so empowering. So I was already hooked. What inspired you to name the program or base it around the thought of being a badass?
Right. Um, it actually, it was through a lot of conversation, working with a coach who was coaching me. We kind of came up with it together, and it was really just in talking about, the whole thing with confidence and with women. Most women, I won't say all because I don't want to stereotype, but I think a lot of women I know, we tend to put ourselves last. We put everybody else first. And a lot of women that I know and have worked with, they feel guilty if they do anything for themselves. And so it's kind of fun. It's to call them, a badass, because, and badass is actually an acronym for my program. So we go through, B is for beliefs, A is for um, authenticity. I just went blank for a minute. Being authentically you. D is for daring to design your life of your dreams or career of your dreams, whichever your focus is. A is for taking ambitious action. S for speak up and speak out. And then the final S for success. And so everything is centered, around that. And it was just a fun way to have a catchy title, and to create that around that, that whole thing with badass. Because I think when you hear that, anybody that you say that to, they immediately conjure up an image in their mind, and it's kind of fun to sort of dispel that a little bit, because it's not, I mean, some people think, badass is, some biker chick on the back of a motorcycle, which it could be. It's really badass is whatever, whatever it is to you, however that means to you, speaking up for yourself, setting those boundaries for yourself, and, standing up for who you are. And because of my own journey and things that I've been through, and that's what, that kind of really drew me out to that, being able to have that program to work with them. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, the name itself is already cool, right? And kind of like I said, for me, at least my vision of it, it's a very strong, word. I think about empowerment. I think about a woman who is living by her own set of rules, right? Or her own boundaries. But on top of that, smartly, it is an acronym that gives it additional meaning, which I love that. That is so creative and adds, more authenticity and meaning behind the term.
Absolutely.
So this program, is it a new coaching program you're putting in place, or has it been in existence for some time?
No, actually, I just launched it last month, and so it's fairly new, and I'm just using the tools that I learned through my certifications, and working through. I'm actually working with a client right now, because I offer a 90-day program, Embody Your Inner Badass, or I also offer a 30-day Badass Bootcamp. So that 30-day one is, maybe somebody that's not quite sure yet about the whole coaching thing. And so it's a way for them to just kind of dip their toes in a little bit and see what it's about. And so I, can offer either, and then utilizing the tools that I've picked up through my certifications, and being able to, and both of them are fluid enough that, that it's whatever's coming up for the client, at that time. And so there's, and one
I
of the
think that's
things
great that you have both models.
Yeah. And so, and one of the things that I do is, at some point along the way, is that we do a guided meditation where they will actually meet their inner badass, and they visualize her and what her values are and what her characteristics are, so they can see that, and then they can tap into her, throughout, the coaching, throughout life, to help them deal with situations that come up. So that part's kind of unique and fun.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds great. And the fact that you have two models is also good as well, because as you said, for those that aren't ready to dive deep and commit to the 90-day, you have this 30-day offering where they can explore and kind of dip their toe into what you're putting out there.
Absolutely.
So in regards to what the clients get out of these services, what would you say are the top three things that they would learn, or top three outcomes from engaging in either one of these programs?
Um, I would say one would be clarity, because clarity, just in terms of, seeing it, I think so often we don't necessarily, realize some of the things that we're doing or that we can do, and to have somebody listen to you and then feed that back to you, sometimes it's very eye-opening. So I think, clarity in terms of the direction, and what they're doing. And then I think, the biggest one for me is the speaking up, using your voice with confidence is, would be a second one. And then, just having a sense of of calm and with the boundaries, being able to, I like to say, it's you can't pour from an empty cup. So you need to, you need to fill your own cup first. So and we do that in a variety of ways. So I would say that would be probably the third one, would being able to learn and recognize that it's okay to fill your cup before you can fill somebody else's.
Yes, that is a good point, and something that you have mentioned a couple of times now. For those of you listening, if you're new, I'll say this: for those that have listened, for some time now, we're all about women empowerment. We want our ladies to be informed, to be able to use the information they get here to live better lives, take up space, care for yourself. As Sandy said earlier, most times we're caring for others and we're not leaving the space and room to care for our own needs, right? This is what we refer to as invisible labor, where you're caring for others, doing the day-to-day to make sure that their needs are met. But we have to take the time to focus on how we can better love ourselves, better keep track of our mental and physical state. And someone like Sandy, who is offering this program, can help you to transition or create more ease in implementing that self-care.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it.
It's so important. You have to, self-care is not a luxury. It's a priority. And it's sometimes
Yes.
women just need to give themselves permission to do that. I think too often they put that last, and they're not fulfilled, and so because they feel guilty, and so it makes it difficult for them to be able to do what they need to do in day-to-day life, because they're not taking care of themselves.
Yes, I feel like women inherently want to take on all burdens and shoulder as much as they can to make it easier on others. There's that social pressure too to fit into these various molds that society dictates. And then there are the various roles that we play, right? If you work for
Right.
corporate, whatever your role is at that organization. If you're a mother, the role of mother, or a wife to your husband, girlfriend, regardless of your gender orientation, right? The role that you have in being a partner to someone else, daughter, sister, what have you, all these different roles that require something different from you. And most times there's a mold associated with that I think women feel they have to fit, right? They have to fit into that mold. And that pressure makes it so that we're always focusing on the external and not so much on the internal, that self-care that Sandy is talking about, giving ourselves that permission to fully care for ourselves.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Just
Sandy,
do it,
I know
ladies.
we have, you have this amazing program. You have this amazing program that you're offering. Is there anything that you tell your clients or even people who follow you via the various social outlets that helps them to develop that confidence, to instill that permission to care for themselves?
um, I am all about affirmations and positivity, and my group on Facebook, that is what I post regularly. And I'm constantly on the lookout for. I mean, I even use the affirmations myself. There's some that I use regularly every day. I actually have an app on my phone that sends me affirmations throughout the day, 3 or 4 times, 5 times a day. And every time I hear the little, ding, I take a look at my phone to see, what's the affirmation that's coming up. So that's one of them, because I think you have to see it and hear it, and repeat it to yourself, to believe it, and what you
Mm-hmm.
focus on, you get more of. whatever that is. If you're focusing on more negativity, then you're going to get more negativity. And so I'm that glass half full kind of girl. And that's been a kind of an ongoing kind of funny thing between my husband and I, because I'm very much the glass half full, wearing my rose colored colored glasses, because I choose to look at things, that way. And so, so I think that's one of them. The other one is, I think, what's the term? Grow through what you go through. And I actually just did a live in my group the other day talking about this, because we have a tendency, we're our own worst critic, and we have a tendency to beat ourselves up. And we think, oh, I do that too. I shoulda, woulda. We can should ourselves all day long, and the reality is you can't change, what the past is. All you can do is learn from it and move forward and grow. And I was listening to a speaker the other day, and she made the comment, and it just spoke to me so much that I went on and did a live in my group. And they made the comment that even if you have a rotten apple and you put it in the compost, something beautiful is going to grow from that compost, because you're going to put it, in your garden or whatever, and something beautiful is going to grow. So grow through what you go through, and so I'm constantly, giving that message. And I'm of the belief that, the example that I'll share is that years ago, in another life, I like to say, we had my first husband, we had a house that burned twice, same house, 4 years apart. And I am just not one that falls apart over things like that. I mean, was it sad? Yes. Did we lose a lot? Yes. But the reality is they were physical things that can be replaced. Fortunately, there were no injuries, that my husband and my daughter and I were all fine. But I remember my mother, God bless her soul, she's been gone for a while, but I remember her saying to people, she was worried about me because I was handling it so well. And I was kind of like, well, what was I supposed to do? I'm, like I said, I'm just not one that's, I can't change it. It happened. It was sad, but life goes on and you just keep going, And so, and that's just kind of been my philosophy in life in general. I can't change what happened. All I can do is control my reaction. That's the only thing I have control over, is my reaction to things. And so I do tell people that all the time, even in my HR job.
That is so true.
All you can do is control your reaction. So, and sometimes, I'm not saying I don't react, I still do, true. But you learn from it and you move forward.
And then, people will have, different reactions depending on their personality. But to your point, you cannot control what has already happened, right? You can only control where you are in the present moment and how you yourself react or behave. And the one thing I tell folks is that, yes, if there were a time machine, would you want to go back and alter some things? Yeah, possibly, right? Sure. You change a couple of things here and there, but we don't have that capability. And so dwelling too much or focusing too much on some of the negative aspects or experiences that you have had, it's not going to benefit you. Could you be retrospective and learn from it? Yes, that is a positive use of looking at the past. But dwelling on it, allowing those negative feelings to fester, is not helping you in any way. And so what you can do is control how you feel about it, reframe that for the positive, or if not reframe it for the positive, work towards implementing the lessons learned for the desired future state.
Agreed. Completely agree. One of the things they teach us, that they taught us in my mastery program, was looking at things that everything has a positive intention. So and so working with clients on, well, what was the positive intention for, it may have not felt that way, but it may be the positive intention of whatever happened was to protect you. So looking at that. So, everything everything, in my opinion, is figure outable. And I think there's an author that talked about that. But, everything, you can get through everything. Do you need help sometimes? Absolutely. But learn from it and don't stay in it and dwell in it. Learn from it to, like you said, reframe, pivot, and move forward.
Yes. And I hope you guys are really listening to some of the things, some of the tidbits that can get lost when you're listening, to a podcast. Sandy mentioned that she has worked with a coach herself, right? She's done her own work and maybe is continuously doing that work with a coach. I myself have worked with my own coach, right? Even though we're coaches in our respective niches, we are still also getting help from someone else, having that accountability to ensure that we're our best selves. So, for those of you that are listening, if you are teetering or wondering if working with a coach is good for you, or if you are just curious in general as to what we can provide, or if you need that accountability, do your research. Reach out to someone, reach out to Sandy, reach out to me, depending on what you're looking to work on. And even if you're not ready at that moment, at least you have reached out, you've learned maybe about yourself or what that person can offer, and you can revisit that at a time when you are ready. Sometimes, like Sandy said, we need a little bit of help.
Absolutely.
So, you also mentioned that you have 4 certifications. I am so happy to hear that because I feel like I'm a nerd in that sense where I'm constantly trying to learn, trying to expand my skill set. So for me, I get very happy when I hear that coaches are continuing their own education and expanding their skill set. Is there anything that you're looking at exploring next?
Not necessarily in the way of, well, actually there is. I was going to say not necessarily in the way of a certification, but I actually have, and I haven't started it yet, but I'm wanting to explore the whole concept of I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, but is it Reiki training? And so I want to explore that just
Reiki, yes.
just for another avenue. I consider myself a lifelong learner. And so I'm constantly looking for things, whether it's reading, a self-help book. I like to read novels too, but, I have usually 2 or 3 going at one time, different types. But whether it's reading or taking a workshop or, people that I follow, different other coaches that I'm following, and I'm constantly wanting to learn from them. And so if they have, a workshop that they're doing, whether it's free or low cost or whatever, I will jump on that and do that because I feel like it makes me better as a person, but it also makes me better as a coach that I can help, others. So I'm constantly looking to learn regardless. I mean, even in my corporate job, I'm constantly doing that learning, what other things can I learn, or going to conferences and, staying up on the latest, or even sharing my knowledge as a speaker at a conference. So I'm a firm believer in, continuing, that learning, regardless of where you're at in life, regardless of your age. It keeps your mind sharp. But mostly I'm looking at it for how it's going to help me and how I can help my clients better.
Yes, all those things. I'm all about that. I feel like if you're not constantly learning, constantly evolving, then you're stagnant, and that's not the best state to be in. And as coaches, especially, we do have responsibility to our clients. And even if you're not a coach, if you're working in corporate, you have a responsibility to perform in a certain facet. And so that means that you have to continue your education, continue to learn and expand your skill set so you can be better, do better, and achieve more. Not be a perfectionist, but just do good in the role that you're in.
Absolutely. I refer to it as taking imperfect action so you can be perfectly imperfect.
Yeah. So something just came into my mind that I wanted to ask you, being that you started your coaching career, what has it been, 2 years now?
Mm-hmm.
Um, have you found any sort of toxicity with other coaches or folks who may be in a similar field as you?
Can you elaborate toxicity in terms of just how they respond, or is that what you're referring to?
In terms of let's get specific.
Okay.
Competition,
Oh,
right?
okay. Okay.
Competition when you're, yeah. Any
Okay.
experience of that? Have you seen any negativity or toxicity or competition with other coaches?
Yeah. I'm going to say no, because, and I believe that, I mean, my ears perk up anytime I see anything out there like that's about confidence. And so, I'm in other groups about confidence. I'm taking trainings from them too. I'm very cautious about not, I mean, when I join their group, I am a member of their group. I'm not in there as a coach. I'm in there as to learn from them, as a participant.
Mm-hmm.
And most what I have seen is that others mostly are the same. Now, I will say I have had some coaches that have joined my group, and have tried to, post things, and I haven't approved it because it comes across as they're promoting themselves. And I would not do that in somebody
Mm-hmm.
else's group. So I just haven't approved it. So that's just not my nature. So I think it's rare, is my experience. It's not widespread, and most everybody that I've been in contact with has been very supportive. And I'm not saying they're not out there, but the ones that I've come across, they're very supportive, very
Mm-hmm.
encouraging, want to encourage each other, helping. I mean, I even am in some groups with other coaches so we can support each other, and not, and we run, to run things by
Mm-hmm.
each other, and even, suggesting that they take each other's, courses or workshops or whatever it is they're doing, just to be able to be a cheerleader for them. So I think that it can be out
Mm-hmm.
there, but it's been my experience that it's not. It's more the exception than the rule.
Well, I will say I am very happy that you have had a more positive experience. Maybe it's just the groups that I'm a part of, but I have seen and I have polled other coaches, to see if they've had similar experiences. But there can be toxicity, there can be, competition, which is
Hmm.
not conducive to what we're all trying to do out there, right? Which is at the end of the day, help individuals with whatever path they're seeking to undertake. And to me, it's surprising because it's almost like it goes against what a coach is, what a coach
Agreed.
should be. And also, we're women, right? I always see women preaching about sisterhood and togetherness and empowerment. And it's just like when you see that toxicity, it's like, guys, where's the empowerment? Where's the support? Where's the sisterhood? Like, I get that some folks have a what I will term as a lack of abundance. Maybe the state of mind is just lacking. And so they perceive another individual who may be working in a similar capacity as competition or somebody who will take from their plate. But that's not how it should be. I don't think that's the intent of any individual, nor should it be. And so this is just going out there to those that are coaches or wanting to be coaches, to be mindful of the energy that you're putting out there, how you're presenting yourself. If you're really trying to preach the embodiment of empowerment and sisterhood, that you go about it the right way, because otherwise, like me, you will see toxicity and that can be very off-putting. I'm all about empowerment. The women that come on my podcast, I'm like, preach. on your offering, please advertise yourself, share your wisdom, because I want to see everyone win, right? There's more than enough for all of us. So, long story short, Sandy, I'm glad that you have had a more positive experience than I myself have.
Well, and I would add to what you said. I fully agree with you. And because here's the reality of things is that not everybody is going to relate to me, and so, and I'm not going to relate to every single client I speak with. I may have a conversation with them, a coaching, or like I call it my badass breakthrough call, just an intro, you getting to know them, to see, is there connection, do I feel like I can really help this person? Not everybody's going to relate to me. I'm not going to relate to everybody. And like you said, there is plenty to go around. And so it doesn't have to be a competition. We need to be supporting one another.
Yes.
And I mean, fix each other's crown instead of making fun of them because it's crooked. So
Exactly. I love that. It's like ice cream, right? We may not all like the same flavor.
exactly.
There's a flavor out there for everyone.
Definitely.
So something else that I'm curious about, with regards to the groups that you're a part of. You mentioned that there's collaboration. You sometimes partake or participate in the various programs in support of each other. Are there any coaches that you want to talk about or share how they have helped you, or any programs you've taken a part of that you think would be beneficial to others?
Oh my gosh. Well, it would kind of depend on where they're at in their journey. But like the coach that I worked with that helped me develop my Embody Your Inner Badass, he's a business coach, and his name is Tyler Hall. And I worked with him for 90 days, and I was actually kind of a test pilot for him. He was trying out his program and was looking for some volunteers, and I'll do it, and I had no idea. It was an amazing experience for me. So, and he's now got he's started what does he call it? A coachpreneur. I think I'm saying it correctly. Club that he's doing. I am. I follow Stacy Brass Russell, who I just love and adore, and I'm actually probably going to be signing on to work with her in her program, and she's also a business coach. She calls herself, she's an evolution coach, I think she refers to herself. She has a program called Out of Overwhelm, where she helps you really focus in and nail down your niche, and really get your business, going off the ground. So, I mean, there's just so many, and I feel like am going to forget somebody, but I've just met so many fabulous coaches, along the way. And Susie Rains is another one that comes to mind. She and I have actually traded coaching with each other. She and I went through our health coach certification together. And she does business strategy as well. All these business coaches. My friend Brenda Reynolds is a health coach. She's doing health coaching, and I have not. We did all of our skills labs together through actually all four programs. We did our skills labs together, so ended up coaching each other through that. So quite a number of people, and I'm sure there's others that I'm probably forgetting, but so many that, I mean, they're out there, they're all over. So it just depends on what type of a coach, you're looking for, because for those of you that are coaches or considering being coaches, I mean, just really I think when we start out, and maybe you experience this too, but when we start out, I think we think, oh, well, I'm just going to be a coach. But really, it's the more narrow you can have your niche, the more clients you're going to attract. And it may feel like, oh gosh, that's
Mm-hmm.
just so, it's so narrow, but it's amazing that it's not. And it really does, it does work. And the more you can nail it down, because then you can really identify what are the benefits, that you offer versus just, this broad, term of health coach or life coach, whatever it is. There's, like you said, there's so much to
Mm-hmm.
go around. There's plenty for everybody out there.
Yeah, you just brought up an excellent point regarding, a coach's path. When you start out, you're like, I'll just be a life coach or I'll be a master life coach. Like there's all these different titles and accreditations that are kind of, broad and generic. But the more you get into it, the more you try to understand how you want to help and who you want to work with, then you start to focus and really determine what your niche or area of expertise is. So, on that point, Sandy, what advice could you give to anyone who's listening that is an aspiring coach or would like to become a coach themselves?
I would say do your homework and don't fool yourself that it's going to be easy, but also have fun with it. I did. I had actually been through a health coach program, but it wasn't. It was very, very different, and I never really used it. And so I actually spoke to friends of mine that I knew had been through coaching programs, and I talked to them about their program, what they liked, and how it worked, and and that type of thing. And I actually went with Health Coach Institute is where I got my certifications, and I went with them because of the fact that they offered a dual certification. But I would say, talk to coaches that are out there, and you can find them. You can, search them on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. They are everywhere. And so talk to them about their program, what they went through, what's involved, how long does it take? How does it work? Like I I I chose my program mostly because of the dual certification, but it was so rich with information, and I liked the fact that we did skills labs every week with a partner. So you found a partner. Some did it with somebody different every week. I ended up connecting with somebody, and we just had this. I never had to look for one because we just did it together every week. We had a standing appointment, and so you would do your lesson, and then you get to practice what you learned with that skills lab partner so that you can really kind of solidify it. I don't know if other programs do that, or not. I liked that. Some people might not, but I would say, talk to people, and then really talk to, like, the way I went through it is you got set up with they called it a clarity coach, I think, to really ask a lot of questions about the program. And so to, really, learn about it and decide, find out how much time is it going to take, what is the time commitment? How does it work? I mean, there's, and then realize that it's not as easy as saying, okay, I'm a coach now, come work with me. It's, you're starting a business, you're a business owner. There are, what are the tax implications? What are the, what are the are there insurance concerns, liabilities, that type of thing, which according to my accountant, I don't have to worry about that till I have, a lot bigger business. But you want to think about those things and tap into your, there's such a wealth of information from your other fellow students, so get curious about it, but then also don't fool yourself that it's, okay, hang your shingle, okay, I'm here, come, come talk to me. You got to learn how to market and how to, how to sell. And that's always been a struggle for me, but I'm getting there, and learning to all of those things. And so really, I mean, really think about, why do I want to do this? And that's part of the program too. At least my program
Mm-hmm.
was nailing down, the why behind it. And it may change. Mine has changed, you know. So, so I would just say, really do your homework and really ask a lot of questions and talk to people that have been through it.
Yes, those are all great points. Doing your research, talking to people, getting their feedback, and really also determining that why, right? Because you may think that you want to do something, but without really knowing what goes into it, to Sandy's point, you're an entrepreneur, right? You are now in charge of your own destiny. You are the CEO, the employee, the marketer, the customer service person. Everything is on you, especially when you're starting out. So you want to make sure before you invest fully and commit all this time to doing all this work, you want to make sure that you actually want to proceed down that path, that is a passion or a route that you want to take, especially because you're not just responsible for you, you're responsible for the clients that want to work with you. And something else that I always say too, to add to Sandy's point, is that you want to know the difference between being a coach, being a counselor, and being a therapist. We are not therapists. There are, certain overlaps between the three roles, and you have to know the areas that you as a coach are not meant to touch and are not meant to provide, because if you don't, you can actually do a disservice to your client and cause more harm than good. So, Sandy, before I let you go, is there anything that you want to share with the audience that I may not have asked you?
I can't think of anything other than, regardless of what you do, be true to yourself. We all need to be true to ourselves, be authentic, and you don't have to be tailored to what society dictates. It doesn't. It's such a disservice to, I think, just people in general, that we feel like we think we have to fit into this mold, and we don't. Be your own person. Be authentically you.
Yes, I love that. You hear that, guys? If you want to rewind and listen to that again, you definitely should. Those are great words to live by, right? Don't always toe the line and live within a box. Follow your own path, set your boundaries. And if you're a woman, not that men can't listen to this podcast, I hope you do. But for my ladies out there, empowerment, be that badass that Sandy is wanting you to be. And if you don't know how, guess what? In the podcast details, we'll have all her info so you can connect with her and check out her 30-day and 90-day badass coaching system.
Absolutely.
Sandy, thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure. I appreciate all of the nuggets of wisdom you provided today.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. I appreciate you having me on.
Yay! I am so happy. And guys, as I always say, preparation, accountability, execution, and resolve are keys to your success. Until next time.